Very pleased to be here. I see great audience, good to see. Nothing better to speak about hospitality. I think this should move. Yes. Nothing better to speak about hospitality than before the aperitif. Before I start my presentation, a small update, as we are also important operator in Ukraine, and obviously with the war going on, it's interesting. So before the war, we had 7 hotels, about 1,000 rooms, and about 650 employees. As you can see, most of the properties are still operating. And the two ones in the two Ibis in Kiev, we are almost daily in contact with the owners and the teams, and there is a real strong will from all parties to keep operating because the hotels are very busy with press, with NGOs, with everybody who has to be there. Obviously, all the hotels have shelters, lots of protective equipment has been sent, but it's obviously a very tragic situation, and for us it's really sad situation because we also had a very, very strong pipeline, so we will see what happens in the next few years. But we keep going, and we, as it was said, we are in more than 110 countries. So this is by far not the first country where we are operating when there is a war. And we have never left the country, apart from if it was physically not possible, because there was a conflict in the country, because hotels are the things where people who have to report on the conflict have to be. So I do 3 things. First, I will talk a little bit about Accor, then about how we see the future of the hospitality, and then a little bit how we see that in the Nordics. I think in the last 5-6 years in Accor, we have really tried to revolutionize the industry by, making hotels much more than things just selling rooms. And how have we done that? I think we have slowly built a lineup of very brands. We have no more than 40 brands. And many times in these conferences, I get asked from Frank, why do you need so many? Don't you have too many brands? And if you speak to our investors, our consumers, they very, very much like it because it allows us for each project, for each investor, for each community to find the right solution in the right segment, in the right budget. So we have classical brands, collection brands. We do a lot of reconversions. After the pandemic, a lot of independent hotels who try to reposition their properties and think from what will I do with my property in the next 5-10 years. We have an unbelievable lineup of resorts, very important. Resorts have been really the lifeline of the industry during the pandemic. And then we have a great lineup of lifestyle brands, such as Hoxton, 25 Hours, Mama Shelter, among others. And this combined with extended stay, so we do apart hotels under many different brands. And then last but not least, and this is really the booming element of our industry, is what we call branded residences. These are residential developments run under a brand, so you have a hotel with a large residential component where the services towards the buyers are provided by the hotel. And then we have what we call the business accelerators, Wojo, Mama Works, as platforms. We acquired companies such as Disruptis, Paris Society, and these are really F&B companies. They generate and they create restaurant concepts for your hotels, and then you have all the solutions going with it, digital booking, sales, revenue management. And let me say, this is the entire platform which we built in the last 10 years and which we are now rolling out. I want to pause a few minutes about our All Heart is Fund. And this is really the DNA which has kept our company together in the last 2 years during the pandemic. So when the beginning April 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, Accor decided to set up a fund which was 25% of the 2019 dividend, and some other fundraising. And today the fund has is 70 million euros. And the fund is purely there for the support of employees and partners. Because, in the Nordics, you have very good social security. In many parts of the world, you don't have this social security. And suddenly, these people were out of a job, and they needed money for rent, for medicine. And as you can see, more than 87,000 applications have been funded. And if you divide that, it's an average of 300 euros. So there's a lot of our associate employees all over the world who have been benefiting from this fund. Today, the fund goes mostly to Ukraine, where many of our employees and partners, they losing the job or they have family which is abroad, which needs to pay for the hotel. And I know that we already have even more than 1,500 small grants to different people affected by the war through this fund. What are we today? As you can see, we have 5,200 properties. Let me say, Accor is the leader in 4 continents. We are the leader in Europe, we are the leader in South America, Africa, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. We're relatively small in North America, where you have Hilton, Marriott, and the US brands. And then in Europe, we are by far the leader with more than 3,000 properties. Obviously, we are not the leaders in the Nordics. We have a relatively good presence in the Baltics, but not in the Nordics, where our Chinese friends of Yin Yang are really the leaders to the Radisson brand. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is earlier this year we did a survey of more than 600 consumers, businesses, to check what is your plan for travel in the next few years. And what I want to share with you today is the outcome of this survey. What was in the survey? Insight of the return of travel, the new normal, top 10 trends, and then we will look at some 3 trends which are for us very important, which is wellness, design, and the life of the hotel in the new city. The good news is that people plan to travel again. And obviously there's some effect of the war, but overall we can say that this really stands. People are planning to spend money on travel even more than they were spending in 2019, which is very good news for our industry. Intend to spend more money, tend to make 3 to 4 trips. What is very important is that people will probably have less trips, but longer trips. This is for sure. Health and certain standards are very important. It's also clear that people still see travel as very important to their own well-being. And staycation, people go to a meeting on Thursday, and then they stay a few days longer, because they don't want to fly every weekend anymore, but they fly less, but if they fly, they stay longer. Changes consumer wants. It's clear that because of the COVID, everything which is hygiene and cleaning standards is important. Now, I also believe that when the COVID will become less a topic, this might go away on top of the mind. But fewer people in tourist hotspots. It's clear also that when we do new hotel developments, we have to make sure that they fit very well in the community where we do these developments, but I'll come back on that later. 3 key themes: building back better, return to a face-to-face business meeting, and technology and the guest. And what is really a massive trend is that environmental concern becomes really a key decision maker for the customer. That means that hotels, which are built to a very high, let me say, environmental standard, are really standing out from the crowd. Also, what is very important for the consumer, more and more, that hotels are really seen as part of the overall community, and it's not a building for people coming from somewhere else to stay only. So if you look, this is a property which we opened in Katowice last year, and it's clear to see that consumers choose properties with a very high environmental standard. For instance, this property is, I think it's 87% in energy independent, and to heat pumps and solar panels. And today, in terms of market penetration index, it's doing very well, because it has a very strong story, it has a very strong message, and people choose the property not because it's the cheapest of the best price in the city, but it goes very well with their values. We have another one in Romania, which we opened the year before in the secondary city in Romania, in Timișoara, which was the first higher certificated BREEAM hotel in the country. I can tell you that it was the marketing of this hotel was almost done by itself. Meetings, you know, we all have spent a lot of time on Teams and Zoom and so on. And it's clearly that in our survey, people tell us from guys, you know, we had enough of these Zooms and overall the respondent expected to make more deals and better deals by being able to go back to face-to-face meetings, which is very good news for us. And if you look at the overall trend, especially also in Germany, UK, we see hybrid meetings where people are sitting together in different places, and then the different places are connected, but they're not necessarily sitting anymore on their own behind the laptop. Closing meetings, these meetings I try to do, to finish deals, leadership meetings. And also what we see is a good comeback of what cultural meetings. It means that companies have to bring people again back together to they get to know their new colleagues and to re-establish, let me say, the culture of the company and so on. So, our top travel trends, and this now we're looking really towards the future. Holiday millionaires, it's clear that people have saved money to travel, and we can see that if you look to forward bookings in key resort destinations. For this year, they're very strong. And quite frankly, with the high inflation, you buy real estate or you spend the money. So, nature, it's clear that because of many lockdowns, people have rediscovered very much nature. They will also look for this nature in the future travel. And then for sure, linger longer. Less often fly, but if I fly, I stay longer in order to benefit from that. Crafter contentment, this is very interesting. I think people have been sitting home and taking up new hobbies. And it's very important that we bring this also to our properties. For instance, if we do cooking classes in our properties, they are sold out immediately. And 80% is taken up by local residents, who then also can mix with some people staying at the hotel. Solitude, after 2 years, it's good to be on your own a little bit, and also hybrid working, and this will not go away. There's really a lot of people who simply can work from anywhere, and we as the industry, we can anticipate on that. City celebrants, if you see in Western Europe, we can see there's a lot of these big events coming back, and there's a lot of demand for that. For hotels, and this is very interesting actually, is that there's a lot of people who got a pet, a dog, and then they will now travel, and we see a massive uptake of people traveling with their pets. And it's you can charge for that, but you also need to prepare for that. And then the last, and this is very important for us, is the aspect of hotel residences. We do many projects where there is a hotel element, and then there is a branded residential element, which is sold and we get, and quite frankly, the premium we get for branded residences is enormous. You know, we're doing one in Belgrade where we get 40% extra compared to the same flat in the same building, non-branded. And we see uptakes from 20 to sometimes 120%. And we do projects in Croatia, in Montenegro, in Romania, in Bulgaria, in many places, and it works. It's really people who are looking to get the security of the hotel service for the duration of their buy. And if they don't live there, they can also make it part of the inventory of the hotel and hence cover some of the costs. One of the most famous one, maybe you heard about, is the Old War Office in London, which is under the Raffles brand. And today it's the most expensive real estate in London available, also under one of our brands. Nordics, for instance, we are not a leader in the Nordics and the Baltics, but we have still more than 650,000 loyalty members. So there's many people in the region who know our properties, who travel our properties throughout Europe, and who try to have the experience. For us, the loyalty program, or loyalty membership, is really a key driver of our business. And people are not looking especially for hotel points, because that's the past. But what we try to bring our members is really exclusive experiences in the box in Wimbledon, in Roland Garros, VIP tickets to concerts, one in a lifetime experiences. And we have as much members looking for the experience the program can bring as the points they can get and the free nights. A trend what is really, really important is everything which is wellness and well-being. As, let me say, in the past, we would do a hotel, and there would also be a small spa and a gym. Today, it's really part of the business case of building the hotel. And we see a couple of very trends. It's spa, serenity, community. What we try to do with new developments, also in city centers, is making part of the hotel the best community spa. So we would not build anymore a spa or wellness center for the people staying at the hotel, but we would integrate in the real estate the best spa and community center. And for instance, we have a specific team in the company who only looks at the development. So we do many wellness on demand, either in the hotel or you can follow it from home. And then you have lifestyle. It's clear that cities are still growing, if we like it or not. And we as the hotel, as the future hotel hospitality, we need to be fully part of these growing communities. It's over that we can build a hotel which is there only for people coming from elsewhere. And that's why this is a very good example. This is like an apart hotel where we have the normal hotel element, we have the long stay element, but we also built a social area which is fully made for inviting people from outside in. And this is maybe the summary of how we see and how we approach projects today. And this is what we call the hybrid hospitality. You have a development, and maybe on the ground floor you have food and beverage, leased to third parties. You have maybe one floor of meeting rooms. You have one floor of co-working. You have a couple of floors of bedrooms. You then have a residential element, and you have a top floor entertainment element. And that is really the balance between the income from the rooms, the income from the F&B. You secure the investment by selling the real estate. And the mix of all these elements, that is how we see the future development of a hospitality project, either as resort or either in a city center. And we do many of them. Obviously, banks are not always, at the moment, very keen. So we really develop many hotel hospitality projects with a very strong premium real estate element, residential element next to it. Trends, very important. We are not We are for sure not market leaders in the Nordics, and we will not be it because it's a very mature market. You have very strong local operators, and you have other operators who have been there before us. It's slightly different in the southern part of my region, all the Balkans and so on, where also 5-6 years ago we were not very present, where we are now the leaders, because these were very immature markets. But still, we think that we can still bring very interesting niches to this market, and this is a very good example. This is a hotel which, it says opening June 2022, but it's actually had the soft opening yesterday, I found out. And this is the 25 hours in Copenhagen, and this is really a type of product which is missing from the market. This is not your traditional 4-star hotel. This is an F&B, an entertainment venue, also with rooms. It has a nanny restaurant. And in this type of projects, or this type of products, we would, if you look at 25 hours or Mama Shelter or SLS, or the room revenue element of the development is less than 50%. Sometimes up to 60% is revenue, F&B, co-working, spa, all the other elements, residential services, which really brings a complete new perspective for an investor towards the hospitality industry. Another one, for instance, is this one, which will also open in Copenhagen later this year. And this is an economy hotel. And what's for me very important, and I keep saying that to the investors, it doesn't matter if you do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star hotel, make sure that today your hotel has two things. You're the best in your category, and your hotel is recognized as a community asset. It's used by the locals. And these two things are, in my view, if you want to do hotel for the future, they are really, really, really important. Extended stay, obviously, extended stay properties have been outperforming traditional hotels during the entire pandemic. This is an extended stay property of which we're working here in Tallinn. And this is also very interesting. This is a large development this is in Bulgaria. And this is a residential development with a golf course and so. And there the hotel is built as the central hub for the residences. So you have residence lounge, so basically the facilities for the hotel are mainly thought out with an idea from how can this hotel serve best the community which built there. So it will be opening next year, so there will be also rooms, but there is many other facilities. For instance, there's a 3,500 meter spa, which is really thought out, young families, so there is enough for the kids, for the adults, and so on. And again, we believe that this is really the hospitality which we are thinking for the future. Resorts are really very important. Worldwide, to give you an idea, I think worldwide we're running about 400 resorts, but our pipeline is 600 or 700. So the resort market is exploding and has performed actually very, very well also during the pandemic. What is very important in the resort market, and this is something also our chairman insists on, is that we are looking very much to reconversion of existing resorts, and we try to limit, let me say, what we call pure greenfield resort in order to reduce the environmental impact of the future resort. This is a very good example. This was an old communist resort in Montenegro. It was opened in Yugoslavian time by Tito. It was completely derelict. It's now under reconstruction, and basically the entire community likes it because they had the derelict building. Now I think the value of the place will go up, and you have all the utilities are there. You don't have to bring water. You don't have to make new sewage facilities. And we think this is a similar one of a reconversion in Poland. And this is our latest opening here in Tallinn, which actually opened yesterday. It will be, we will find, Mercure is one of our great legacy brands, so the hotel will be fully upgraded, both in design and in ESG standards, and it will be rebranded to Mercure later this year. And this is another good example, I believe. This is, again, a communist building in the mountains in Poland, completely reconverted to a super hotel without, let me say, having a massive environmental impact of you built a massive new development in the middle of nowhere. So this is also important for us, and we're pushing very hard, and partners like this approach. So I hope you find it interesting to get some idea on how we see the hospitality. If you want to download the report, you can download. It's accornortherneuropetrends.com. It's available for everybody, and it's very interesting. And I have to say that it's maybe a little bit of contradictory because we do hotel development, and with the COVID, but the eagerness of our partners, of the investors in this industry is very strong. We've been never more busy, and it's a little bit contradictory but let me say our partners, investors, really strongly believe that this industry is rebounding and will rebound further also in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Do we have questions?
Oh.
I definitely have one.
Yeah.
Because I think when it comes to real estate in general, we want to know the occupancy. How much have you already sold and so on. But in the hotel business, have you reevaluated in the last 2 years the occupancy rates? Have you stayed the same standards? Okay, we're expecting this kind of occupancy rate. Is it becoming even more seasonal, or it totally depends on the market?
Why it depends on the market. If you look, the US market is back. It's outperforming before. China, they're locking down, so It depends also, there's a point. Today...
But let's put, for instance, Nordics and Baltics then.
Let me say more general in Europe, what we can see is that we had a very strong pickup, but a very strong pickup in the beginning of the year, which completely stopped when the war started. And this has, it has come back in Western Europe, but it's clear that the countries which are surrounding Ukraine are really still affected. And I would say for Baltics, I think Nordics, they have their own market, but for Baltics, Poland, Romania and so, the next few months are not very clear. Well, you don't have the same effect in the rest of Europe. We'll see how it goes. But at the other hand, our industry always needs to be there to accommodate people. It will never go away. And at the same time, hotels and many of our investors and with many of our partners, we really have strongly worked in reinventing the revenue streams. Takeaway business, F&B business is become really, really important. Well, a couple of years ago, it was not of that same situation.
Okay. Yes, there is a question. Yes, I remember the gentleman. He's connected with hospitality.
Hi.
From Diego, just an update. We are minus 20 to 25% behind in RevPAR against 2019. Provincial markets are doing awfully well. And in 2 years' time, we may be catching up the market that was there before. So that's the outlook.
If you want to know anything about hospitality and Nordic and Baltics, you call Kimmo,
Yeah, don't call all at the same time. We'll form a queue outside.
Okay. Well, I think it is good to end with that.
Thank you.
With that note, thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.